Hello and welcome back to the McDonald's Happy Readers Holiday Story Club. Do you remember what happened yesterday? Izzy and Benji's time-travelling van sent them back to the land of the dinosaurs. Don't worry if you missed it, you can catch up on mcdonalds.co.uk/family. So, shall we find out what happens next? They were surrounded by gigantic bushes and trees that were bigger than skyscrapers, stretching away to a steep cliff edge in the distance and the sea beyond. And there were dinosaurs everywhere. They were all shapes and sizes. There were small ones that were not much bigger than dogs or cats, some with spiky prickle horns on their backs. There were stupendously ginormous ones that were longer than 5 double-decker buses, with necks thicker than tree trunks and skin like the hard rubber tires of a tractor. "Let's explore," Benji said. "Definitely," said Izzy. She was used to having adventures on her own, but maybe it would be even more fun sharing them with someone else, even if that someone else did have pockets full of slime and half-eaten sandwiches. "We just have to remember the beep rule. If we don't get back by the third one, we might be stuck here, like Gramps with the cave people." She turned to check that Benji had heard, but he disappeared. Izzy raced after her cousin and into the dense jungle. He might be annoying, but she had a feeling that she shouldn't leave him to be eaten by a dinosaur. Actually, Benji would probably love that, she thought. The bushes came up to her shoulders. There were the sounds of insects chirping, scurrying animals, and in the distance, a huge roar. Izzy ducked into the bushes, her heart beating fast. "Benji!" she called in as loud a whisper as she dared. "Benji, where are you?" "Over here!" Benji shouted back cheerfully. Izzy pushed her way through the bush and found Benji sitting in a nest of baby dinosaurs. They were green and scaly, about the size of puppies, and they were clambering all over Benji, making little peeping noises. "They like it when I roar," Benji said gleefully. There was another enormous roar in the distance, and Benji copied it. The little dinosaurs peeped happily again. "I speak dino," Benji grinned. "Can I keep one, Izzy?" I'm not sure how my mum and dad would feel about that," Izzy told him. She had to admit that the babies were pretty cute. She reached out to stroke one, and it nuzzled into her hand like a cat. "It likes you," Benji told her. Izzy grinned and tickled the little creature behind its spines. "Maybe we could keep it," she thought. "It could live in the van." Then she shook her head. "What if it grows up to be a T-Rex?" Benji's eyes went wide. "Cool." Izzy laughed. "Come on, we have to get out of here before the parents come back. That roar is getting louder." "Don't you mean they're Mamasaurus and Dad Lodocus?" joked Benji. Suddenly, the trees around them shook. There was a loud rumbling noise, then another. "What's that?" Benji asked. "Is it thunder?" As the ground shook again, Izzy realised what it was. "No, it's dinosaur footsteps. Getting closer, come on!" Benji and Izzy raced back to the bushes and hid. The little dinosaurs followed them, peeping. "Go away," hissed Izzy. "What if it's your Mamasaurus?" "Or your Dad Lodocus," Benji added, trying to steer them back to the nest. But the babies peeped again and huddled closer to Benji. They seemed frightened. Izzy's eyes met Benji's. Suddenly, she had a very bad feeling. "I don't think it's their family," she whispered. They peered out of the bushes as a tall dinosaur with long, sharp claws and red stripes across its nose appeared. It sniffed the empty nest where the baby dinosaurs had been just moments ago. "Phew, that was close," Benji whispered to Izzy. But the stripy-nosed dinosaur didn't give up that easily. Sniffing the air, it pushed through the bushes and found another nest close by. 10 big oval eggs gleamed in a neat pile of twigs and leaves. These dinosaurs hadn't hatched yet. "Oh no," Izzy gasped. But it was too late. Stripy Nose had found them and was ready for dinner. One by one, it started crunching up the eggs. "Izzy, we have to stop it," Benji hissed. Izzy felt awful, but she didn't want Stripy Nose to eat them too. Then she had an idea. "Benji, do your roar," she said. "Really?" Benji whispered, his eyes shining excitedly. Do it as loudly as you can, Izzy told him. Benji screwed up his eyes and opened his mouth. Roar! Stripey Nose looked up. Again, Izzy whispered. Roar! Benji roared even louder. Stripey Nose flicked its tail, then ran away as fast as it could. Roar! Can you roar like Benji? As loud as you can. Louder? A bit louder? I don't think your neighbours can hear you yet. Wow, that was pretty good. You did it, cheered Izzy. You scared it off. I did, didn't I? Said Benji, looking very pleased. But do you think any of the eggs made it, Izzy? Let's go and see, Izzy said. But stay low in case Stripey Nose comes back. They tiptoed over to the nest, and Izzy's heart sank. They were too late. The eggs were all gone, and all that was left was a mess of broken shells and dirt. Oh, those poor eggs, she said sadly. Roar! Not again, Benji, Izzy said. But then she felt a sticky hand slide into hers. That wasn't me, Benji whispered nervously. They turned to see a herd of huge green dinosaurs racing towards them. As the baby dinosaurs ran to meet their parents, peeping excitedly, Izzy grabbed Benji and dived back into the bushes. Let's get back to the van before we get squished, she said. But Benji was watching the empty nest as two dinosaurs approached it, looking in confusion at the eggshells and dust. It's the Mummosaurus and Dadlodocus, Benji gasped. They watched as the two dinosaurs sniffed around. Finally, they lifted their huge heads and let out a terrible roar, making the leaves on the trees shake. Izzy and Benji clamped their hands over their ears. What shall we do? Benji whispered. There are dinosaurs all around us. I don't think we can make it back to the van. Izzy quickly came up with a plan. We haven't heard the first beep yet, right? We'll just have to wait for the dinos to fall asleep. She and Benji huddled together in the bushes and waited as the sun went down and the moon and stars filled the sky above the jungle. Eventually, Mummosaurus and Dadlodocus curled up sadly together, wrapping their tails around their bodies like cats, and soon Izzy could hear their giant dino snores. A breeze was blowing, and a sliver of silvery moonlight lit up the remains of their nest. Look, Benji said, pointing. Izzy stared. Something smooth and shiny was reflecting a moonbeam from under a pile of leaves and mud. Could it be? Wait there. I'll go and check it out, Izzy whispered as she crept out of their hiding place and tiptoed towards the ruined nest. She quickly and gently lifted their broken twigs and leaves, and there it was, gleaming in the moonlight, perfectly unharmed. Have you guessed what it was? That's right, an egg. Izzy was so happy. The Mummosaurus and Dadlodocus hadn't lost all their eggs after all. Benji, she called softly, one of the eggs is okay. Look. Izzy, Benji whispered, his voice sounding a little wobbly. Izzy turned round and gulped. She'd been so excited about finding the egg that she hadn't noticed that the dino snores had stopped. The Mummosaurus and Dadlodocus were awake, and they were towering right over her. As quickly as she could, Izzy scooped up the egg and placed it in front of them. Mummosaurus and Dadlodocus looked at her and opened their huge mouths menacingly. Izzy squeezed her eyes shut, her heart beating like a drum. And then she felt something warm and rough and very wet covering her face. It was a dino lick, and she was covered in dino drool. Izzy, your hair, giggled Benji. It's all sticking up. They're giving me a dino thank you, Izzy laughed. As the dinosaurs bent down to their precious egg, Izzy made her escape. She grabbed Benji's hand, and they crept round the other still sleeping dinosaurs and headed back through the dense jungle towards the van. Phew, breathed Izzy. I thought I was about to be gobbled up. You thought so too, didn't you? Well, don't celebrate just yet. As they were racing away, something else happened. Now, you might think coming face to face with a dinosaur is big, but this was bigger. It was astronomically, intergalactically, outer spacey-wacy big. The moonlight suddenly turned yellow, then orange, and finally glowed a hot, fiery red. Izzy and Benji stared up at the sky in disbelief. It was like the moon itself was on fire. As they watched, the whole sky turned into a violent firework display of whizzing hot rocks and shooting stars. And not the kind of shooting stars that Izzy had seen at home, which swooshed prettily across the sky like beautiful little scratches of light in space. No, these ones smashed straight down like red-hot thunderbolts that exploded into thousands of fireballs as they hit the earth. All around them, the dinosaurs were waking up and roaring. And among all this, Izzy and Benji heard another noise. The van's horn was beeping. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you again tomorrow for more adventures with Izzy and Benji.